Welcome to Erimu Television. This is a series of programs aired all over Kenya to teach the students in the secondary school level. This is CRE, Christian Religious Education, Form 1. Welcome. In the previous lesson, we divided the books of the Bible. We tried to classify them in various classes or categories. We were able to deal with the Old Testament, and we said there are 4 major categories of the books of the Old Testament, including the books of the Pentateuch, or the law books, which contain the law of Moses, that is called the Torah, the historical books that tell us the history of the Israelites in the Old Testament, the prophetic books, which can be divided into 2, the major prophetic books and the minor prophetic books, and we have the books of poetry, the poetic books. Today's lesson will divide the books of the New Testament, the major divisions of the books of the New Testament. They include the biographical books. That is the first category of the books of the New Testament. And these biographical books are also called Gospels. They are 4 in number. They include Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The word gospel means good news of salvation for humankind through Jesus Christ, who was sent on earth by his Father to come and deliver human beings from the slavery of sin. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are referred to as synoptic gospels. And the reason is because they have recorded similar messages or the same life history of Jesus Christ. The only gospel that is different is the Gospel of John. However, they all contain the autobiography or the life history of Jesus Christ, the good news of salvation brought by Jesus that was carried on by the word of the mouth, and it was passed on to other believers who recorded it down. Now, this recording of the books of the Bible was done by various biblical writers. Like Luke wrote the Gospel according to Luke, and he also wrote a historical book that is the Acts of the Apostles. So before the Gospels were written down, the good news of salvation about Jesus was passed on by the word of the mouth, and this period is the period we refer to as the oral tradition. The oral tradition, the period in which the gospel or the word of Jesus was passed on orally. The second category of the books of the New Testament is referred as the historical books. And it is only one in the New Testament. It's only one book, and this is the book of the Acts of the Apostles. As we have mentioned earlier, it was recorded or written by Luke, who is also the writer of Luke's Gospel. Now, the book deals with the history of the early church, which was founded by Paul through his missionary work. The purpose of the book was to show that the good news of salvation was universal. And Jesus Christ came for both the Jews and the Gentiles. The good news of salvation is universal. It is for both Jews and for Gentiles, not for the Jews alone. Now, the word Gentile is a Hebrew word which means non-Jew. So when we talk about Gentiles, we refer to the non-Jews. The third category of the books of the New Testament are called epistles or letters. They are 21, written by different people and addressed to the early church and to certain individuals. The letters are divided into 3 categories. 1, we have the Pauline epistles, simply meaning the letters of Paul. Paul mainly wrote these letters. They are 9 in number, including Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, and 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. The second category of letters are pastoral letters. Pastoral letters. There are 5 in number, including 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus, Philemon, and Hebrews. They are called pastoral letters because of their concern for the life and teaching of the church, and because they are addressed to shepherds, the shepherds of God's people, who are the pastors. They show a very high regard for the duties of pastors and how these duties should be carried out. They are not written by Paul, but written in his name and with his authority. This gives them added value for the guidance of the Christian communities or churches, since Paul was the greatest missionary after the death of Jesus Christ. The third category of letters are the Catholic letters. The Catholic letters, they can be applied to any group or individual, so they can be applied to any group or individual of the time. The authors of the Catholic letters are not known clearly, but their messages are relevant to all people of the time, so they can be used by all people of all the time. Now, those are the letters, the epistles that are found in the New Testament. We continue with our divisions, and finally, the New Testament final category of books, number 4, are the prophetic books. Just like the historical books, which is only one in the New Testament, there is only one prophetic book in the New Testament, and it is also called apocalypse. Apocalypse is a Greek word meaning revelation or disclosure, to disclose, to make known what is hidden. It is different from others and sometimes difficult to understand. It has symbols and metaphors which are difficult to interpret. The book talks about God's will for the future. And the book here, there is only one book, and it is the book of Revelation. It is the only prophetic book in the New Testament. So those are the major divisions of the books of the Bible, both in the New Testament and the Old Testament. I hope you have clearly understood, and for your homework, you are supposed to give 4 major divisions of the books of the New Testament. We continue with our lesson, and now we'll look at Bible versions. Bible versions is the next subheading. A version is the construction of the language that a translator of the Bible uses in his or her work. The aim is to make the Bible content simple to understand without distorting the message that is in the original language. I can repeat the definition. A version is the construction of the language that a translator of the Bible uses in his work. The aim is to make the Bible content simple or simpler to understand without distorting the message in the original language. Now, I want to get this answer from the class. What is the version of your Bible? Can you lift up your Bible? Do you know the version of your Bible? Yes, the recommended Bible version, as we had mentioned at the beginning of this broadcast, We said it's the Revised Standard Version. Now, apart from your version, what other versions of the Bible do you know? Now, the Bible versions used in Kenya include the Revised Standard Version, the Good News Bible Version, the Other Bible Version, the New International Version, the Gideon's International Version, the African Bible, the Jerusalem Bible, the Living Bible, and the Common Bible Version. You can also find out whether we have other versions that are used in Kenya today. And so, for your homework again, I want you to mention 7 versions of the Bible used in Kenya today. Now we are through with the various versions of the Bible. We are almost coming to the end of the topic of the Bible. And now we'll look at the translation of the Bible from the original languages to various local languages. So it is important that we know the translation of the Bible from the original language or languages to local languages today. And after that, we'll also look at the impact or the effects of Bible translation from the original languages to local languages. By local languages, we mean indigenous, ethnic, or vernacular languages. It is important to note that the Old Testament section of the Bible was originally written in Hebrew, as Hebrew was the language used by the Israelites. And that is why the original Bible was first written in the Hebrew language. Let alone, the Bible was translated from Hebrew to the Greek language. And why it was translated to the Greek language was because Greek was the language that was commonly used in Asia Minor and in the Mediterranean lands. There were Jews who lived outside Palestine, and they spoke Greek better than Hebrew. It was therefore important to translate for them the Bible in a language they could understand. These Jews who lived outside Palestine are called the Jews of dispersion, from the word disperse. So they were scattered outside Palestine, or the Jews of diaspora. We have said these Jews of dispersion or the Jews of diaspora spoke Greek better than Hebrew. And that is why the Bible was translated from Hebrew to Greek. Now later on, the Bible was, before we go on, the Greek translation of the Bible from Hebrew to Greek is called the Septuagint. The Septuagint, referring to the 70 scholars and scribes who worked on the original Hebrew Bible, translating it into the Greek language. Septuagint is the Greek translation of the Bible from the original Hebrew Bible, referring to the 70 scholars who worked on the original Hebrew Bible, translating it into the Greek language. Now, between 386 to 420 AD, Jerome, a gentleman by the name Jerome, a great Christian scholar, translated the entire Bible into the Latin language. Now, this Latin translation of the Bible from the Greek language is called the Vulgate. Vulgate is the Latin translation of the Bible. Now, during the Reformation period and after the Reformation period, the Bible was translated into various European languages like English and German. It was coordinated by the Foreign Bible Society and the British Bible Society. Now, from there, as the missionaries started moving from their motherlands, like Europe, and coming to other continents, like Africa, particularly in East Africa, missionaries like Johann Ludwig Kraft translated the New Testament into the Kiswahili language. It is important to note the work of Johann Ludwig Kraft. He was a German sent by the Church Missionary Society, brought a German Bible with him. He was able to interact with the people along the East African coast, learned the Kiswahili language, and was able to translate some parts of the New Testament into the Kiswahili language. Now in Kenya, the Bible Society of Kenya and the Bible Translation and Literacy Organization, abbreviated as BSK and BTL. These two bodies are the ones that are responsible or deals with the translation of the Bible into various local languages. For example, in 1951, we have the first Kikuyu Bible. In 1956, we had the first Kikamba Bible. In 1963, we had the Luo Bible. 1964, the Kimeru Bible. 1968, the Kalenjin Bible. 1974, the Luya Bible. 1977, the modern Swahili. Today, the Bible Society of Kenya has done the translation of the Bible into nearly 42 languages in Kenya. The Bible Translation and Literacy Organization also have attempted to translate the Bible into various communities like the Samburu language, whose languages have not been fully developed in writing. Already, the BTL, the Bible Translation and Literacy Organization, has done some parts of the Bible into the Borana, the Digo, Duruma, Pokomo, Tharaka, Sabot, Redire, Suba, and Giriama languages. So that shows us the various stages in which the Bible has been translated from the original languages, which were mainly Hebrew and Greek, into various local languages or indigenous languages. Now for your homework, I would want you to outline the main stages of Bible translation from the original languages to local languages in Kenya today. And that brings us to the end of our lesson today. In the next lesson, we'll look at the effects of Bible translation. Thank you for listening.